Stranger. Hi, John.
How was your...
You look familiar. Have I ever met before?
My name is Andrew Train. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was saying probably about 2026.
Well, it's going to be 30.
What brings you back here? Are you going to shop? Just by right here. I'm always worried about
Great, Lars. Welcome back.
Oh, you found that? I haven't done that forever.
David, right?
That was something, yeah. The name was out of spite, actually. Yeah. Yeah, there was a friend of mine that got all pissed off and started a bunch of drama after an event that my RSL hosted. And I had that whole group right now when I took my job in painting. To my advantage. What's up, buddy? Yeah, it's just about mental health center. I haven't read the actual bill that we're supposedly supporting, but I'm for the center. I just want to make sure there's nothing funny in the word in the bill. Because like, we were something in that. Like this is something that
Hey, friends, it's 4 o'clock. Please take your seat.
I would see it, but I'm not going to.
Okay, maybe we just have another Zoom.
I saw your eyes.
You're good. They were mostly friends. All right, friends, we're going to go ahead and start this meeting at 4 p.m. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get us started with our roll call while we get the Zoom up. Are you able to hold the Zoom today, isn't it? Okay, you got it. All right, then while we wait for Emma to get that up, I'll list people that we have in the room. Senator Hart. Here. Thank you. Senator Sharath. Here. Thank you. Please cut all side chatter. Senator Woldekaiden. Here. Thank you. Senator Wing.
Present.
Thank you. Senator Jumanji.
Here.
Thank you. I believe Senator Wynn will be online. Senator Bryant.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Roberts.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Wenzel. Oh, why is that still on the list? Senator Rivera.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Narala.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Berhanu. Senator Berhanu. Maybe joining us over Zoom. Senator Pickle. Thank you. Senator Mendez Martinez.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Bohm. Senator Bohm. I know they emailed me that they were coming over soon too, but I don't see.
And just.
I see participants. Are we able to show who the participants are? That's all right. I'll just keep going. Senator Zigweed. Here. Thank you. Senator Mesta.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Mueller.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Putty. Thank you. Senator Seek. Senator Seek. Senator Goff.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Speltz.
Here.
Thank you and welcome. Senator Roiger.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Andre.
Here.
Thank you. Speaker Novak, that's me. President Zelmer. And Vice President Ibrahim.
Here.
Thank you. All right, checking. I'm just going to go over
Speaker
the
Novak,
Zoom.
Bob, Senator Bohm, and Victor Wynn are the ones who are online right now.
Amazing, thank you. Bohm, and Wynn. Perfect. What? Here's. All right, thank you. We're going to go ahead and move right along then with our agenda. Gotta just find it through all these various things. But I know that the first thing on our agenda is our presentation from John Bulcock, Intro to Budget Season. This presentation was pre-approved for up to 20 minutes instead of the regular 10.
And take notes, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. The presentation that I'm getting ready to give, I give almost every year. I did not give it last year. I believe Emmy might have given it. But this presentation is going to cover quite a bit of information. Some of the information is going to be fairly heavy, especially if you've not seen this process before. You have a packet that's got 3 handouts stapled together, and I will be referring to those during this presentation. So we are getting ready to enter budget season, as we call it. Matter of fact, budget season starts 2 weeks from today, officially. Well, it's technically already started because groups that are funded through the student activity fee are already making their requests and presentations. But the first public-facing part of budget season is 2 weeks from today, when you have some presentations of some fee requests from different departments. And so I'm going to be talking about all of those different fees. I'm going to be talking about what these documents are, and I'm going to be showing you something on Microsoft Teams. I will tell you, I discovered today that senators have not yet been added to the team for senators. So by tomorrow morning, Amber will have you all added to the team where you will be able to access these documents, this presentation, and where the people who are presenting their fee requests will be uploading their presentations and their supporting documents, so that they're not going to be giving you a stack of papers that you have to keep track of. You'll be able to access this stuff in Microsoft Teams and review it at your leisure. So during this presentation, if you have any questions, stop me along the way, okay? Because I'm going to go pretty quick, because 20 minutes is even short to be able to try to cover the stuff that you need to know. So I'm going to be talking primarily about I'm going to spend most of our time on the student activity fee, but we're going to touch on all of the other fee areas. So we're going to talk about the process to begin with. So what happens is these student fee funded departments, there are 5 primary student fees that we're going to talk about, and those fees are technology, student union, athletics, student health, and the student activity fee. So collectively, they're all student fees. Those departments and functional areas, they work internally to develop their budget request, what they think they're going to need for the next fiscal year. We operate on a fiscal year that starts July 1st every year, and it ends June 30th. So right now we are in fiscal year 23. It ends on June 30th, and fiscal year 24 starts on July 1. So these departments, they put together their budget. They think what they come up with what they think they're going to need to operate on for the fiscal year, and then they make those presentations and requests to different areas. Okay, the student activity fee, which is the one that we're going to spend hours debating in about a month and a half. Those departments all make their initial request to the Student Allocations Committee, which is chaired by Senator Royer. Okay? In this packet, pages 2 and 3 are the student activity fee funded areas. And this is the actual document for the current fiscal year. It shows you what SAC recommended last year, and then it also shows you what student government approved last year. Okay? So pages 2 and 3 are the student activity fee funded areas. Page 1 in this packet are all of those student fees that I mentioned, and it shows you cumulatively what students are paying in student fees for this year. Okay, so you'll see that per term, students are paying $540.79 in student fees. And that includes all of those fees that I mentioned, in addition to the campus rec outdoor facility fee and the dome fee. Those fees are fees that were already agreed upon for a period of time. They don't change, okay? And Todd Finkston will present about those in 2 weeks. So cumulatively, you're paying $540.79 a semester for your student fees, okay? And then, like I said, pages 2 and 3 show the student activity fee funded areas. Those present to the SAC committee, Student Allocations Committee. Student Allocations Committee on February 18th is going to meet and have a several hour-long conversation about the recommendations that they are going to make to you for approval. And then on March 1st, those recommendations are made public. They are sent to the departments that made the requests, and then they're also shared with student government. You'll get it at the student government meeting on that day. And then on March 27th is when you will have the deliberation meeting for that fee. Okay, you have a couple of weeks to do some research, to do some thinking, to talk to the fee-funded departments, to ask questions, and then you'll vote on your recommendation for that fee on the 27th. It then goes to Dr. David Jones for his review and recommendation. He will then forward his recommendation to President Inch. President Inch then forwards his recommendation to the Board of Trustees for the Minn-State system. The Board of Trustees has the ultimate authority to say yes or no to those fees based on the recommendation from the President. Okay? The other fee-funded areas: athletics, student health, student union, and technology, they come directly to this body to present their request, what they believe that they're going to need in terms of student fee funding for next fiscal year. And then you vote directly on the recommendation for that. Okay? So they will each you'll have 2 of them make a request on the 22nd of February, and then on the Wednesday after spring break is when the other 2 will be making the request to you. Okay? The athletics fee and the student activity fee are the 2 fees that are subject to a limit that can be, their increases are subject to a limit that you can recommend without having to go to a student body vote. Okay? If the student activity fee and the athletics fee are recommended by student government to increase by more than 2%, the student body has to vote on approving that recommendation in a referendum that would take place in conjunction with your student government elections. Okay? So That same day that we're doing the student activity fee on March 27th, that's also the day that you'll be doing the athletics fee. Yes?
It's actually the 22nd, Chuck.
22nd, okay, excuse me, sorry. I, for some reason, had the 27th in my mind. It's, the 22nd is correct, March 22nd, thank you. So on that day, you'll be discussing the student activity fee and the athletics fee, and then the week after that, you'll be discussing the rest of the fees and making your final recommendation on those. Okay? Any questions about that process?
Are there any questions?
I think I covered it all on the process there. Yep, okay. The different fees you're dealing with, like I mentioned, the student activity fee is, it provides partial or complete funding for a lot of the activities that happen on campus. Some of those key areas are the reporter, campus rec, student activities is fully funded by student activity fees. Multicultural Affairs receives some, the Kearney Center receives some, the Maverick Food Pantry receives funding from student activity fee, the bus system receives funding from student activity fee. That list on pages 2 and 3 shows you those departments that receive student activity fee funding. Again, the recommendation is made by SAC to student government, and then you make the final recommendation to Dr. Jones and the president. It's a vote, like I said, subject to a vote of the student body if you're recommending more than a 2% increase. Right now, we don't have room to go up more than 2%, but President Zelmer has been keeping you updated on conversations about the increase to the student activity fee cap, which there is some significant optimism about that cap being increased so that we can fund things more appropriately. As of right now, that cap is $112.50 per semester. Right now, you're paying $112.44. So even if we were to raise it a penny more per credit hour, we would exceed the $112.50, so we just can't do it. That's kind of where we are right now. Okay, so that's the student activity fee. That's the big one that you're going to spend most of your time on, probably. The intercollegiate athletics fee, again, it provides funding to student athletics or for our intercollegiate athletics programs, travel, operations, that kind of stuff. They're going to make a request to you. Then you're going to make a recommendation. You have the ability to take a look at their request and go, yes, we agree with and recommend that the fee be assessed at what they are requesting. You also have the ability to make a modification to that. Just like you do the student activity fee, you have the ability to modify those recommendations. Again, your recommendation goes on to Dr. Jones, who then forwards it on to President Inch and the Board of Trustees. This is assessed on a per credit hour basis. If I say banded, do you know what banded means? Do you have an understanding of what we mean when we say banded tuition or banded fees?
Can you explain it just in case?
Sure. The university charges per credit hour for everything up until you hit 12. Okay? Once you hit 12, you're going to pay the same for 12 as you do for up to 18. And student fees are the same way, with the exception of the Students United fee. Okay? So once you hit 12, your student fees are going to stop unless you go to 19. Then you're going to be assessed at the per credit hour rate further for anything above 18. Okay? Yes?
And all online classes that are asynchronous, you do not pay fees for. Or like people in all online programs, they do not pay these student fees.
Correct. So
Here.
So when you see words that say it's assessed on a per credit hour basis and it's banded like tuition is, that means that that hourly fee that you recommend stops being charged at 12, and it's the same for 12 as it is for 18, up to that one, okay? The cap right now for the intercollegiate athletics fee is $55 a semester. We're not quite there. We're getting close, but we're not quite there yet, okay? Any questions about the athletics fee? The student health services fee, again, it partially funds the operation of student health services. Student health services staff, in collaboration with their advisory committee, develops this budget. Matter of fact, it's usually a student who presents that budget request to you, and I'm guessing by the nodding head that it'll be a student again who presents that to you. They'll make their request. It goes through the same process. We can see what their cap is, $75 a semester. And this fee, there is not, it's not subject to a vote of the student body, regardless of what kind of increase you may recommend. Okay? Any question about the student health fee? Every student pays this. Okay. student union fee, again, partially funds the operations and services provided by the student union. CSU staff develops a budget proposal and runs it by the student union board, which is chaired by this guy sitting right next to my left. And so it's my guess that he'll be the one presenting the student union fee request to student government when that day comes. Again, they'll make that request, student government will deliberate, you can modify or you can keep the recommendation the same, and forward it on to Dr. Jones for his recommendation, and then President Inch, and then the board. There is no cap on the student union fee, okay? And also, if you recommend an increase, if you recommend an increase to this fee, it is not subject to a vote of the student body, just like the student health fee is, okay? Any questions about the student union fee? Again, all of these departments are going to make more, be more in-depth about their fee request, what it's for, why it is what it is, when they come and present to you. The tech fee partially funds operations and services provided by IT Solutions. They have an advisory committee also that's going to be presenting. Usually this one is presented by either Brian Schneider or Mark Johnson. I'm not sure which one will plan to present this, but they will be in front of you to present their request. And they are capped at $12 per credit hour and banded at $144 a semester. And then again, if you recommend an increase to this, I think they're, are they at the cap right now? I believe.
No.
Not quite. But if they do increase, the increase is not subject to a vote of the student body. If you should recommend.
And all of these caps should, or seems as though they may be increased by the Board of Trustees. The technology fee might not be increased by the Board of Trustees quite as much, since the last time the cap was increased was, I believe, 2020. Whereas student activity fee, the last time that cap was increased was 2000, which was the year I was born.
There you go. Again, they will come in, they will recommend, they will make their recommendation or their request, and then you'll have the ability to say, looks good to us, or we're not in for that. Let's taper it back. So you have the ability to make that recommendation. The campus these next two fees that I'm getting into are ones that you really don't touch much because they were negotiated in past years at a flat rate to be assessed for a certain number of years. And so it's more informational when Todd Fingston will present these to you. So the campus rec outdoor facility fee, it provides funding for debt service on outdoor fitness trail, fields, lighting, and support structures that are across the street from campus. This started being assessed in fiscal year 09, so the 2008-2009 school year, and it was for a period of 20 years. So that means that through fiscal year 28, which would mean the school year 27-28, that's what this fee is for. It's assessed at $250 a credit hour, banded at 12 for a max of $30 a semester. And so this one, it's more informational that you'll get. There's not really much moving on it. So again, it's included in the overall student fee package. So for the consultation process, it's got to come to you to make sure that you are aware of that. Okay? And very much like that one is, there's the seasonal sports and recreation facility, the DOME fee, as you want to call it, partially funded the construction of the bubble. It was passed by a vote of the student body in fall 2018, and it has resulted in a $10 a semester fee, or 83 cents a credit hour, that will last for 10 years. And so these fees have been negotiated, the first one for 20 years, the second one for 10. That's not to say that they may not come back and say, in order to continue operating at the level that we are, thank you, we will need to request an extension of the fee. So there's potential for that, but right now it's set for these 10 and 20-year periods. I went too far. Okay, here we go. The budget hearing. So what happens is SAC makes its recommendation to you. The budget hearing, if a department, say student activities, says we don't think the recommendation is enough, we'd like to appeal the recommendation and come back and ask for funding for this reason. We have the ability to come in and say, yes, we'd like to appeal the recommendation, and then you can deliberate that. Student government, the activities or the departments that are satisfied with their recommendation won't appeal, okay? And so if they're not appealing, there's a pretty good chance that they may not come to that budget hearing unless you ask them to be there. Okay, yes?
And when you all are looking at, so people will appeal if they didn't get what they wanted from the student allocation committee recommended to us. If you are thinking, we're gonna be talking budget for a while here on out, if you're thinking like, oh, SAC gave this person what they requested, they're not appealing, but I might be looking at wanting to take some money from them, you should tell us that you want them to join. It's kind of a slap in the face to departments to just get cut without a heads up. So I recommend as you all start thinking about things, if there's certain areas you have more questions for, make sure to let us know so we can let them know to come in.
Yes. So typically what happens is when SAC makes its recommendation to you, you then have the ability to say, I would like to ask that Campus Rec come in because we have further questions. The key thing is if you just have questions that are already mentioned or that are answered for you in their budget request, don't make them come and just answer those questions again, okay? I'm going to show you in Teams where you'll have access to everything that we've submitted for our requests. The exact paperwork that was submitted to SAC for consideration, you're going to have access to, okay? Again, you can request the departments come in, and typically student government won't make adjustments to somebody's budget without giving them a heads up. Each department will be considered line by line. It has not been, it is, precedent has been set that if there are some that are not controversial, say, you know, this one's good, this one's good, this one's good, you can move them into a bundle and pass them all at once. That will make the meeting go quicker. And sometimes that's discussed amongst each other, amongst you, before that meeting even happens. And so there's the potential that you could take several of them, bunch them all together and say, these look good, there's no problem with these, we're gonna pass them all at once. So you do have the ability to do that. There are sometimes when you look at something and go, somebody requested funding for this, I don't think they should have that. Student government has the ability to reduce the amount of funding that somebody gets, but if something, if a director or an area thinks that something is important enough, your recommendation is not necessarily going to, they may choose to sacrifice other things than what you're intending to have them not do. Okay, if it's that high of a priority on their list, they have the ability to do that. Okay, so if, for example, somebody says, I need an extra GA, and you don't think they need an extra GA, but they're like, I can't do my department without an extra GA, they'll cut somewhere else in their money and still go for that GA. Okay, so just know that you may have some intentions, but the departments are going to still probably try to do, if something's a big enough priority for them, they will look to do that. Okay. Keep in mind, I'm almost done here. I know I'm up against the timeline. None of the departments make money. None of this is for profit. It's all for the work they do, the services they provide to students, and all of that kind of stuff. So sometimes the general student thinks that departments in the university are out to make a profit. No. They're funding their operations. They're not allowed to make a profit, okay? And so that's one thing to make sure that people understand. If your question's a basic one, such as what do you spend your money on or what does your department do, again, you're gonna have access to the information that they submitted. Don't be afraid also to email somebody or to stop by an office and say, hey, can you tell me about this in your budget, okay? That's really something that can be helpful. Don't be afraid to talk to each other outside of this meeting, okay? You're able to do that kind of stuff.
We're bumping up on our time. If you would like, would we be able to
Motion to extend the presentation time indefinitely.
Seconded.
indefinitely?
Yeah.
I'll be less than, yeah,
Yeah.
I won't be too long. So.
Okay, is there any dissent? Any dissent? Seeing no dissent, go right ahead.
Okay. Yeah, again, don't be afraid to ask the department for clarifying questions, okay, if it's just something that you may not understand. So this is going to be a tough process. I tell you, this is going to be one of the toughest budget years any of us who are sitting in this room right now have seen, okay? And some of us have been here for more than 20 years, okay? So we understand that this is going to be a tough process, but don't be afraid to ask questions outside of the meeting, okay? Keep in mind that SAC is charged with reviewing these requests, doing the dirty work for you, for more or less. they're gonna have spent more than 15 hours hearing these requests, pouring through them, and trying to make a sound recommendation, okay? So encourage you to some degree, trust the work that they have done, and know that they've had as tough of a time, if not tougher than you will. So please consider that work and don't make it for naught. So they're there to serve a purpose, and let that purpose do its thing. Another thing, sometimes you look at a budget and you go, I don't think this one needs $300. We're gonna cut $300 out of this budget. To put things in perspective for you, okay, if you're wanting to lower or make a difference in the actual student fee that people are paying, the statistic is that 1 penny in the student activity fee is $2,833 for next year, okay? So if you're gonna reduce something by a couple $100 or less than $2,800, you're not gonna make a difference in the overall student activity fee that that the students are paying, okay? So that's important to keep into perspective, is that if you're really actually looking to make a difference in the fee, you're talking $2,800 per penny that you're going to be reducing this fee by, okay? Sometimes people get tripped up over a couple $100 here and there. In the grand scheme of things, a couple $100 isn't gonna make a difference in the student activity fee that the students are paying, okay? It has a bigger impact on the ability of the department to do some of the things it needs to do than it will on your student activity fees, okay? So just keep things in perspective. $2,833 is 1 penny. This year, I mentioned it's going to be a tough year. Student government's going to need to prepare a couple of budgets, okay? One is your ideal recommendation. You put it forward, assume it goes to a vote, assume it passes, and if you increase the student activity fee, you assume that the cap has been increased to a level that will accommodate that. That's your ideal budget. You're going to also need to come up with a budget that can be fallen back on if something fails at a referendum, okay? And you're probably also going to need to have a budget that assumes no increase in the activity fee cap, okay? So there's probably going to be a couple of those budgets that you will likely need to come up with, okay? So some backups. I call them the back pocket budget, okay? So that's what will take a considerable amount of time at your meeting. You have a couple of options. Obviously, you can take and reduce budgets across the board, or you can make specific targets if you do need to reduce something from your initial recommendation. Student activity fee reserves. There is a reserve account from unspent monies of the student activity fee, and there's a level at which that has to be maintained. Right now you have more money in that reserve account than is required, but that money is kind of like a rainy day account. It's not meant to sustain regular ongoing spending. Last year, student government pulled $206,000 out of reserves to fund the budget. That's not going to be sustainable, okay? And that's about 5 times the amount that had been pulled out in any given year before that, okay? So we encourage you to, and Mark Constantine will help provide this guidance as well, but to go into reserves for $200,000 again might not be a best idea. So again, some tough decisions regarding funding. As a group, your single biggest obligation through this as a senator is to be prepared, okay? I'm going to show you right now on Teams where you're going to be able to see some documents. Let's see. Tab, right? Yep. Okay. You're going to be... how do I make it so that they can see this? There we go. You're going to be added to Microsoft Teams. There's a folder in there called 2023 Student Fee Process Documents. Okay? And within that folder, you're going to see several folders. You're going to see the campus rec, outdoor facility fee, and dome. You're going to see the intercollegiate athletics fee. You're going to see pre-hearing resources for senators. That's where this presentation that I just gave is stored. It's where the documents, the PDFs of the documents that you have in front of you are stored. The fee packet that was sent to President Inch last year is in there. You can see exactly what went to President Inch for approval. You have a folder for each of the fees. What I've asked all of those fee directors to do is to upload their presentation and documents into those folders so that you can access them at your leisure, take a look at them, ask questions, print out your own copies if you want to make notes all over them. The only one that has anything in there right now is the campus rec outdoor facility fee and dome fee. Todd Finkston uploaded his presentation into there this morning, so you will have access to that. But the other fee directors will be uploading their information in there as well. Down below you have some Word documents. What happens is after the budget directors make their presentations to you, they're going to come back on the days, you better believe they're going to come back on the days that you're discussing their fees and voting on them, okay? And if you have questions for them, we want you to write those down so that we can give them a heads up as to, because some of the questions they might need to actually do research and prepare the answers for. So we ask that you go into these Word documents if you have questions for them, and put your questions in writing so that we can send it to them. If they're here on a Monday or a Wednesday, we're going to want to give them those questions by Monday so they can do any legwork that they might need to, okay? You also have a Word document on there that says student activity fee invited departments. Those are the departments that you're going to look at the line and say, I want to invite them and have further questions about that budget for them. You're going to list those invited departments on there, and then Amber and or Teresa Schwartz will reach out to those departments and ask them to be here. They're going to get up here. If they're not going to have a presentation, they're going to be ready for your questions. So if you invite them and then don't have questions for them, that's no bueno. So you're going to want to be prepared with your questions for them and be sure that if they're going to show up, that you're going to ask those. Okay? So again, your biggest obligation is to be prepared. If you have questions or research about something that a department is asking for, or if you have ideas in your mind about what to do with a certain line and you want to ask a department about that, don't be afraid to go ask them, to reach out by email or stop by. They'll be happy to answer those questions for you because they know that you need to be prepared as well. So this is a tough decision. It's going to be a tough year, but this group is tasked with making those decisions. So a lot of information all at once. I know not everybody's a budget person, but this is one of the biggest things that this group gets tasked with every year. So it's a huge responsibility, and there are a lot of us here who can help walk you through this. So during the budget hearing meeting, I'll actually be sitting on the side calculating and number crunching, and I'll have an Excel document that'll be changing as you're making your recommendations. So you'll be able to see what the fee is doing. It'll be updating and calculating in real time. So that meeting, Mark and I will both be sitting there, number crunching and all of that kind of stuff. So you'll have the ability to bounce ideas off of us as well. So. Questions?
All right, yeah, do we have any questions? Questions at all? Oh.
Yield. I just want to emphasize one thing that John said. The past couple of years, when John talks about being prepared, we've probably invited some people into the big meeting that we don't necessarily need to. If you have some questions related to a program, you can go directly to those folks beforehand to educate yourself, so then you can talk to your fellow senators about how you feel about that. For you to bring people in necessarily, like John talked about, that already have things in writing that you can follow, but to go, if you're confused about that, you want to go to them and talk to them, do that, so that you can caucus before that meeting. It saves their time to not come into that big meeting potentially, but more importantly, it saves your time as well. And that's something we've seen a little bit more of, and I think if you all work hard at doing your homework before that large meeting, probably half the people, or most of them, wouldn't have to come in because you've done good work beforehand.
On that note, again, like I mentioned, if you're going to go making modifications to budget lines, especially for a group that's not appealing the recommendation of SAC, then you really want to make sure that they have a heads up that you're planning to do that. Because otherwise, if they're, say I requested $150,000 and SAC only recommended $130,000, and I'm like, I'm okay with $130,000, so I'm not going to appeal it. But you're thinking about reducing it even further. You should do the courtesy of notifying that department or inviting them ahead of time, okay? Because otherwise that will be blindsiding to them. If they are in agreement with SAC thing and they don't hear from you, they're gonna assume it's all good and likely not show up. So that's one thing I would just encourage.
Thank you. Senator Wayne?
Just one other thing to note. Some of these departments won't necessarily have been to one of these hearings before. I know last year when we brought in music ensembles, Chairman Olson had never been to this budget hearing before. And so if you do see that any of these departments fall under your purview as a senator, I highly recommend going and touching base with them so that they are prepared for and know what to expect going into that meeting. Yeah.
Thank you. Did you want to comment on that, or?
Nope, that's fairly accurate. We've had some staff turnover on campus, and for some people, I've got a colleague who's in the room right now who's going through this for the first time too. So it's a fun experience for people, to say the least. I mentioned for the budget hearing, typically what happens is even though there's an order to the groups on that list, typically the groups that are appealing and or the groups that you've invited to be there, they get bumped to the top of the list for consideration at that hearing so that they don't have to sit through the very end. And so that's something that we will consider as well.
President Zeller?
So a couple things. First, if you are reaching out to departments, let's say you have personal questions. If you have a question, someone else might have a question. I would definitely recommend, even if you do want to talk with them in person, that you write it over email and have them email you back the answers to your questions. That way, we can maybe create a document that has questions you asked and their answers to that. Because bringing up hearsay at the budget meeting, this is a $3 million budget. Students oversee this budget for a very good reason because it's the student activities. I remember my first year, it was the spring of, well, my first year was fall 2018, it was 2019 we were doing the budget. And some of the departments didn't like what they got and they wrote a whole article saying, why should students be overseeing this budget? And that's because it is the students' budget. Students should get to decide what their money is being spent on. But if we do not take this responsibility seriously, people start to question why students get to oversee this budget. This is a lot of money, so you all need to think about how things appear, because appearance is really everything. So we cannot be throwing out rumors, throwing out ideas. Well, you can throw out ideas, but our decisions on budgets this large should not be made by rumors or personal opinions about certain issues. They should be fact-based. So make sure you get notes from that meeting, from them about what your questions were, what they said, because if people are making up things at the budget meeting, that's when student government loses all credibility, that's the word. I was gonna say reputation, but credibility is what I was looking for. So really make sure, this is a big responsibility. It's the biggest one we have as student government, and we need to hang on to that because it's really important for the future generations.
Do we have anything else?
If you do have questions just about process or anything like that, feel free to let me know. I'll be happy to answer and clarify anything. Sometimes people, especially if you're newer around the table, you may not want to sound like you don't understand something, but we want to make sure you do understand stuff. So ask all the questions that you have. President Zelmer's been through a few of these. Speaker Novak was through a couple. So, and there are some others around the table who have been. I know Senator Robertson Wing have been as well. So. Ask your questions away. There's no dumb questions during this. We want you to be informed and confident as you go into the process.
Thank you very much. All right, next up we have open forum. Do we have anyone here? Yes, go right ahead.
Hi everybody, Scott Nelson, Athletics. Happy budget season. It's budget season for all of us, and it's a fun time of year. Looking forward to the process. Sat through that meeting, I think all 13 hours or 11 hours, whatever it was last year. The West Wing geek and me really enjoyed it, but looking forward to going through that again this year. Going around the table right now with a little athletics, did you know? We're back here in 2 weeks. We're one of the first groups to present. So just wanted to get something in your hands here. I know our athletic director, Kevin Beisman, will be uploading our documents today yet. But this will, did you know about the success of the athletics program the past year or so? Just want to put that in your hands so you can see what we've done. I know I've been here quite a bit to talk about what we've been doing as a department, but this really highlights everything in the community, in the classroom, and then on the playing surface as well as what we've done in athletics. So Senator Zigweed's been a great addition to our committee. We've been meeting weekly, started meeting basically before the holiday break. So really looking forward to meeting with you guys in 2 weeks, and I'll stand for any questions if you have them at this point.
Amazing. Do we have any questions? Seeing none? Oh, no. Looks like we've got Senator Roberts.
I know it was one of your objectives last year when you came to us to talk about the budget with athletics. What have you done to allocate that to women's sports?
All of our women's sports are funded as much as they can be. We distributed the increase that we had last year amongst everybody that needed it. Unfortunately, everything this year, I mean, you'll see it when we meet, transportation costs are still continuing to rise. And you know, we're putting that money where it needs to be, whether that's sending a women's track team to South Dakota or sending a men's golf team to Arkansas to help cover those expenses for those events. So we're doing everything we can to make sure. You know, I would go out on the limb to say, and I think if you'd ask our student athletes this question, and we'll have female student athletes here in the next week, amongst their peers in our conference and in our region, we're one of the best schools around that can help have an emphasis on Title IX and make sure they have a fair and equitable playing field.
Amazing. Thank you. Do we have anything else for Scott? In that case, thank you so much
Thanks,
for coming
guys. See you in
in.
a couple weeks.
Anyone else for open forum? Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
Hi, so my name is Destin, and I am the president for the Maverick Involvement Team.
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle Harvey. I am the advisor for the Maverick Involvement Team. I met you all a few weeks back. This is my first semester on campus.
All right, so as most of you may know, the Maverick Involvement Team is like the organization on campus that provides all of the resources for student leaders and student groups on campus to be able to drive the changes they want to see happen. So we are just here because we have made some adjustment to our schedule. So our weekday meetings, like you know, we have a weekly workshop on campus that happens. It used to happen every Tuesdays from 5 to 6. We have changed that to Mondays from 5 to 6, and also the location has been changed. It's now in the flexible programming space downstairs by Chick-fil-A. So you guys can join us if you have time. This is a great resource for student leaders to enhance their leadership skills. So 5 to 6 on Mondays. And also this week we will be having our leadership retreat. It's going to be happening on like Friday this week, and we'll be back on campus on Sunday. That will be happening at Camp Omega in Watersville, and you are all invited. President Zelma is going to be presenting, so if you guys want to come, you are invited to join us. So thank you. I'll stand for a question.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Oh, yeah, President Zelmer.
It's nice to have you back at the meeting.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Hopefully next week you'll see me again.
Any other questions? In that case, thank you very much. And then I saw Todd's hand go up.
Just real quick, next Wednesday trivia. For those of you who are new, I'm Todd Kingston, Director of Campus Recreation, but 4:45 next Wednesday, bring your brains. Any questions?
Yeah, do we have any questions? Senator Wing.
Are y'all ready to lose?
Sure.
Okay, you're not.
Sorry, do we have
Okay.
anyone else for open forum? Anyone else? Seeing none? Thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and move right along then. And we're going to get to our approval of the consent agenda. Is there any dissent or amendments to the approval of the consent agenda? Any dissent or amendments? Any dissent or amendments? Seeing none, I'll assume unanimous consent. Consent agenda is passed. All right. Next up, we have our officer reports. President Zelmer.
Cool. I apologize if I've been a bit slow on emails or meetings. I actually did go to the doctor after my curling wipeout. It is a contact sport if you're clumsy. So I do have a concussion, but I'll be back next week. So thanks for your patience. Yeah. Other than that, we had Meet and Confer, which is our monthly meeting with the President's Cabinet. We talked a little bit about library stuff, as I mentioned to you all last week, with some changes upcoming with that. Nothing changed with the governor's budget, still kind of tragic that he decided not to fully fund Min-State's request, even though he did get his graduate degree from, I believe, Mankato. But other than that, tomorrow I'll be testifying to the Minnesota House, it's in the resolution, that committee about mental health funding for campus. We'll be talking about that resolution today. Just so you all know, I am hoping to expedite that. If you all don't feel ready, that's fine. However, I would like to say we pass it tomorrow. So there's that. You can also tune in online if you would like. That's about all that I have for this week. I will mention, however, since we were talking about budget season and talking with each other outside, we're gonna start having joint committees before as well as after Senate meetings. We'll hopefully stay around. It'd be really nice to at least all get on the same page with what everyone's thinking before the budget meeting, because last year it went, how many hours was that, friends, last year? 13 hours. That's the Wednesday after my birthday, so I would rather we don't go that long. And when I ran the budget meeting, it was under 6, so if we can try to stay around there, that'd be great. With that being said, if you have hot takes on the budget, don't keep them to yourself until the budget meeting. Blindsiding either departments or your fellow senators at the budget meeting is not a good idea. It also looks really bad and immature on all of our parts, so no scheming before budget season except about what we want to do as a collective. It's okay if we don't agree on everything, that's why there's so many of us to vote. But if you're like, oh, I'm looking at, let's say, I'm looking at the R&R fund for the reporter and I want to give them an extra $300,000, you should maybe mention that before we're sitting at the budget meeting and we're 5 hours in. So just a thought on that. Also, if you have any questions, Vice President Ingram and myself have been looking at budget stuff since last semester. So if you want to come talk through anything about what different departments do, feel free to stop by. And like I said, we're going to start having joint committees beforehand pretty soon. That way we can all start talking, at least get on the same page with general knowledge beforehand. Also, I need to hand this out somewhere. If you have a class at 3 p.m. on the 22nd, we start this meeting at 3 p.m. Dinner will be provided. We're in a bit of a bigger room as well. If you have class at 3 p.m. or a night class after Senate, you cannot go to those classes. You need to be here to vote on a $3 million budget. But the president writes us a absence from class. So sign this or write your name down if you need help getting out of a class that day, either at 3 p.m. or later on if you have a class at 2 and you need to get out a little bit early maybe. Put your name down on this so we can get you a letter. That way you can get out of class and have an excused absence.
What month is this, March?
March 22nd. We'll be starting at 3 p.m. and I know it is during Ramadan, I believe, so we will make sure that dinner is after sunset so that everyone can eat together.
Do we have any questions for President Zellner? No? Looks like Jordan Mueller.
I appreciate that you guys can get us excused absences. I'm not saying that I have an exam on that day, but in the event that one of us does have an exam on that day in our night classes, what is our course of action?
I would recommend you speak with your faculty member and let them know what's going on. You can also send them my way if you're not getting good responses and I can handle that. See if they would rather have you take it. Maybe you could take it earlier in the day. You could be like, I can take it at 2 p.m. That way you can't tell anyone about it after because you have a meeting at 3. In my other note, there is an event for Students United on the Thursday, the 23rd. It's the Night of Black Excellence, which would help support scholarships for Black, brown, and underrepresented students. It's at Can Wonderland in Minneapolis, which is like a mini golf, arcade place. You can get discounted tickets, so let me know if you're interested in joining. It is up in the Twin Cities. However, we could carpool there, or we could just get a group. So if you're interested to going to that, and if you can't make it to Advocacy Day or the event that Inman will tell you about in a second, that Thursday will be a really fun event. I love Students United events, especially the ones that aren't business related. So let me know if you want to join. And our vice president will be giving a speech there that night. So.
Any final questions or for President Selmer? Right, seeing none, Vice President Ibrahim.
Okay, I have a couple of updates, starting with from Student United. So ministerial equity bills has been introduced to this in the Senate, and they had a meeting this Monday with some policymakers who are supporting that bill. So, and then the House version will be introduced shortly. As a part of Advocacy Day, Student United will be holding a rally on the front of the Capitol with Internal Faculty Union, Minnesota State College Faculty Union, and Lit Eminem to highlight the importance of higher education and affordability for a free college. They will also have several lawmakers for as a speaker for the event. And finally, the mini fridge from the campus kitchen has arrived in our office, yay, last week. So there are sandwiches and for students that stop by in the office, so please try to advertise that as much as you can so people know that there are free food there. Muslim students had a social event in the Women's Center Tuesday, and some conversation that had come up are the reflection spaces and how the location isn't big enough nor a place they can concentrate. I promise one more thing. Diversity Institute will be having a huge event that's coming up soon, and it's called Be an Influencer. There are two parts of this event. The first one will be happening February 20th, which is some of us won't be here for the Advocacy Week. But for those of you who are not coming with us, we expect you to be there if you can, and you can use that as office hours. And then the second part will be March 28th, and we will be going that as an organization. So, and I yield. Any questions?
Do we have any questions? Yeah, go ahead, President.
So for the rally at the state capitol it's on Tuesday, right, of Advocacy Week?
Yes.
So on the 21st, you do not have to be attending Advocacy Day or like on the 5-person list we passed out to attend that. The Interfaculty Organization, so the faculty union on our campus, has provided funding for a campus like bus or rideshare van to go up to bring you up there. So if you weren't able to attend Lobby Day, you can still go for that rally. It's lots of fun. It's right on the steps of the Capitol. Last year we had it, but it was planned very last second. So really make sure you join if you want. We can make some signs, have a good time, and you get to participate in Advocacy Day without having to spend the whole day there. So please, please, please let me know if you want to do that. I'll send out the sign up over email, unless we already did. We did. Okay, cool.
Cool, cool. All right, then nothing else for VP Ibrahim? Then in that case, I'll go ahead and go. I'm gonna make this quick because a lot of what I was gonna talk about was budget related, and John and Amber covered it, so I'm gonna yield to redundancy on that. The other thing that I have for you is a request from Amber for passing around the sign-up sheet for trivia once again. I will say, this is gonna be after our meeting next week, starting at 4:45. So after we get done with our meeting, we're all just gonna walk over to the Johnson Alumni Room. But if you can put your name down here so that we know for sure that you're able to make it and we can prepare accordingly. Just gonna pass that around. I didn't really talk about that much, but if anyone has questions for me, go right ahead. All right, amazing. Then in that case, we're gonna go ahead and move right along to our senator report, to our dean of the day. Sorry about that. Go right ahead.
Hello everyone, Jean Haar, Dean for the College of Ed. On behalf of the deans, hope you're having a good semester. Stay engaged, a few more weeks, then you can do spring break.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions for Dean Haar? Not seeing any. Now we're gonna go ahead and move on to senator reports. First up, I've got Senator Roiger.
All right, well, I'm gonna keep this short and sweet because this is already a long meeting, but so far like John said, I am on SAC, I'm the chair, and we have been having meetings every Friday of the semester. The second Friday of the semester, we started our 3-hour long meetings. Our last one will be next Friday. And then next Saturday, we get to do our lovely deliberation day for about 8 hours. So, looking forward to that. And then we go back to 1 hour for the rest of the semester. For coordinator stuff, I have a meeting next week with Director of Advising prior to her attending our committee, so we can talk about some of the top priorities that we really want to discuss within committee. And then I attended meeting for last Thursday, and yeah, so that's it.
Amazing, thank you. Do we have any questions for Senator Reuter? Thank you very much then. All right, next up, Senator Roberts.
I will also keep this nice and short and sweet. Just as a few things. The first thing that I wanted to bring up, especially to newly elected senators, I would really love to have people on the Student Basic Needs Committee. It would be very, very nice to have people. I just don't have any right now. With that being said, we haven't had a meeting this past month, but I do plan to reach out, hopefully with some of the new people, so we can get a clearer schedule, so we can have a meeting this upcoming week, and we can get some stuff going for the semester in terms of some of the student basic needs work that needs to be done, especially since we had some unfinished business in terms of housing insecurity and food insecurity in terms of working on those resource elements. The second thing I wanted to bring up is I'm working on a resolution at the request of my constituency pertaining on the HyFlex element, particularly minimizing asynchronous courses as there's a very high rate. Currently my research on it is still in process, but the data that I've come up with so far suggests that about 50% of graduate opportunities in terms of class that's not like thesis or internship is an online experience, and that's not exactly what graduate students, especially those who came here for in-person programming, wanted. So you should expect a resolution coming here fairly soon. I have a few more things that I need to do in terms of research for that. The other resolution, briefly, is a privacy resolution, and I'm waiting on one thing from an administrator, so I plan to introduce that hopefully next week as soon as I get that last question answered. With that, thank you.
Then in that case, President Zellmer.
I have some information for you about the privacy
Thank you.
one, so we should chat before you introduce it.
All right, do we have any other questions or comments? Then in that case, thank you very much. All right, gonna go ahead and move right along to our vacancies. I'm gonna call up the position. If you are here running for that vacancy specifically, please raise a hand or verbally say something or stand up to be acknowledged. Anyone running for the at-large senator position? Howdy. Will you please stand up and go to the podium and introduce yourself with your name and pronouns? And then I'll give you the opportunity for a 2-minute opening statement.
Hi everybody. My name is Elizabeth Tepp. My pronouns are she, they. I'm a little nervous, so sorry if I sound a little jittered or anything like that. Why I want to run is I represent many different student groups. I am a non-traditional, also a transfer. I'm also part of the LGBTQ disabilities and POC communities. So I think that I have a lot to kind of give to the government. I guess I'm not really good at speaking, but I'll try. But I think that my different viewpoints and different perspectives on different things can really help with making change.
Thank you very much. Then we're going to open it up for a period of questions, followed by a 2-minute closing statement. Do we have any questions for our candidate? Question? Any questions? Wow, seeing none, then would you like to give a 2-minute closing statement, or that it can also be redundant since you just spoke?
I am just grateful to be here and, kind of honored to be standing in front of everybody here, and just, I hope that you vote for me. Yeah.
Wonderful. Then as we get into a period of discussion and voting, you have the choice to whether you would like to stay in the room or step out of the room, and that's entirely up to you.
I think I would like the surprise.
Okay.
Of not knowing.
Then in that case, we'll wait for you to step out of the room. All right, now hearing points of discussion on candidate TEP. Keep in mind that make sure that these pertain to how they would be able to do the job. Don't get into anything too personal, and attacks will not be permitted. I see that we have something from Vice President Ibrahim.
I would just like to say that Elizabeth would be good in this position because she's part of like a lot of different organizations, or in some points she has experience of being like PSEO students and then traditional being transfer students. So she will be able to represent or advocate for a lot of different areas we have on students.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other points of discussion? Call the question? All right. Do we have any dissent on a call to question? No dissent? Beautiful. All right, I would like you to write on a piece of paper, yes, no, or abstain, and me and John will come around and collect them.
You have Madam Vice President.
Yep.
And will the people on Zoom please message President Zelmer?
There was supposed to be.
He is on Zoom. Wait, one more.
What?
Do you guys remember leadership?
That was the story that needs to happen. Have a great conversation. I would give a great story.
For future reference, while I do find it absolutely awesome that someone wrote it in Spanish, I would prefer for that to be in English.
Who did it?
I wonder who.
I mean, stereotyping, guys.
Now you're gonna get French.
Yeah, really.
Doing it right now.
Do you know I was just wondering.
Oh, it's through that. Oh, that's it.
Yeah, because we have teachers. Yep, and I gave you.
I'm like.
Yeah.
Ready for me to pull up the thing? I'm gonna find it so easily. Bam, found it. All right, my friends, we have had an election and we have voted to elect our brand new Senator Tebb. Congratulations. Now we're going to go ahead and swear you in. So repeat after me. I state your name.
Do I need to raise my hand?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Senator Tebb
Will represent and serve
will represent and serve
the students of Minnesota State University, Mankato
the students of Minnesota State University, Mankato
in student life and academic needs,
in student life and academic needs,
and will uphold the mission, Constitution and bylaws of the student government. I so affirm. Congratulations! You can now take a seat at the table, and you have voting rights for the rest of this meeting and for all future meetings. Wherever you want to go. Perfect. And do you need an agenda, or do you have a copy?
There's a bit of extra here.
Oh, I don't believe we have an extra copy of an agenda.
We've got one here and we've got one right there.
Perfect. All right. Sorry, we're throwing you right into the fire. But while we get that all squared away, I'll call out, do we have anyone here running for the vacancy of College of Science, Engineering, and Technology? Yes, absolutely, my friend. I'm also going to ask you to go up to the podium and introduce yourself with your name and pronouns. Then you get a 2-minute opening statement. But I will request that you wait to start until we are all squared away and ready to go. All right, looks good to me. You can start whenever you want.
Okay, sorry, I'm stressed. So, my name is Francesca Goma, my pronouns are her and she. Yes. So, I'm gonna go ahead with the statement. So, the reason I'm presenting myself here because I really love Minnesota State University, Mankato. I am a transfer student from all the way up from Africa, and this is my second time in the US. I wanted a change when I came back here again in the United States, and coming to a small university in the small city was really my goal because I really want to feel like the American experience. And when I came here, I really feel welcome in the university. I get really quickly involved, I could say, and I want to run for this position because I wanted to be part of the student government, because I want to help other students just like me who came here, because I feel like we are not listened enough, or we have so many questions who are actually just for us, and not all people here can understand and connect with us. So that's the reason I'm presenting. I am like you may understand in engineering, and I am mostly the only black woman in my classes, and I would like to be more diverse for that department, and that's really one of the most important reasons I'm presenting.
Amazing, thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Any questions? All right, seeing none. You have the opportunity for a 2-minute closing statement, or you can yield to redundancy.
So I will just say, what for me?
Amazing. All right, would you like to stay inside of the room, or would you like to step out?
I will go outside.
All right. Once again, we're opening the floor for discussion. Make sure to only make points that pertain to how they would do the job, and personal attacks will not be tolerated. All right. Do we have any points of discussion? Yes, Senator Roberts.
I think they will do amazing. With that, call the questions.
Figured it was coming. Do we have any dissent to a call to question? Any dissent? Seeing no dissent? Amazing. All right, we are once again going to do this vote on the grounds of a yes, a no, or an abstain. I see Senator Wing is all ready for me. Please write this out on a small piece of paper. If you are on Zoom, please message President Zellmer. All right, we're going to go around and pick these up.
Oh, yes, I come all the way. Yeah, she's stacking. She's stacking.
Or we think about
It's just like how you read it.
So the language is we'll make it in that. We're also going to
I just need to find a class. What are some
All right. Thank you, friends. We have once again had an election, and I would like to welcome our brand new Senator Goma. Once again, I'm going to have you raise your right hand and repeat after me. We're also going to be recording this. If that is not okay with you, state so, and then we won't do it. But when you're ready,
yeah.
I state your name.
Senator Goma.
Will represent and serve.
We represent and serve.
The students of Minnesota State University, Mankato.
The student of Minnesota State University, Mankato.
In student life and academic needs.
In student life and academic needs.
And will uphold the mission.
And will uphold the mission.
Constitution and bylaws.
Constitution and bylaws.
Of the student government.
Of the student government.
I so affirm.
I so affirm.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You may also take a seat at the table wherever you would like, and you have voting rights from the rest of this meeting and all future meetings. All right. Sorry, I'm just writing that down quick. But next up, we have new business on the resolution in support of Minnesota House File 586. I'm going to pass it over to the original motioner, President Zellmer, to talk about this.
Cool. So House File 586 is a resolution that is going to the House, Human Services Finance Committee that was introduced by Representative Fredericks, who is the representative for our district, and a good ally of campus, I would say. He introduced this at the request of one of the faculty members. He was approved to start the Center for Behavioral Health here at Mankato, which right now doesn't receive any funding, it's just kind of a thing. This House file is requesting $1.5 million. Half of that would be in fiscal year 24, half of that would be in fiscal year 25, to support the starting of a rural, it says it in here, a rural behavioral health training clinic. That means that it would employ graduate students under the supervision of mental health counselors to see students and members of the community. So this would be able to, so on campus, right now we are under the national best practice for counselors per student ratio. That's why, like, students right now go in, they get triaged at the door, but oftentimes they maybe can't be seen as frequently as they need. Our mental health clinic can't treat people for every need they might have. We don't have the money on campus. Obviously, the university, we're seeing an enrollment decline, which means we don't have as much general funds to go towards the clinic, which means that there's less money to go around there and everywhere else. So oftentimes students get sent off campus or aren't able to be seen as much as they need. This, in theory, would allow students to be seen somewhere else, so as well as community members. And it would give a great opportunity to the students in our master's program to receive real-world training. It would also help grow our, I would say, this can't be proven by fact, but I think it would, that if we offer more graduate assistance, it would help grow our programs that these students would be in for graduate programs. More students coming here means more enrollment, which means less of a budget deficit, so that's always nice. This, I will say, cannot be supported by the university as a whole, because with system restraints, they would have had to submit it to the system, who then would have to add it to the big list of all 37 colleges and universities asking the state for money. So this is kind of, although it would be supported by the university department, that's why the university isn't making statements on this. Dr. Jones, correct me if I'm wrong on any of that, but that's kind of where that's at. However, student government isn't restricted to what the assistant office says we can and can't do. So this is really showing the support of students for this mental health clinic. Again, the reason I think we should support it is because A, it would provide opportunities for graduate assistants and possibly undergrad students to work in maybe the front office of it or somewhere else and be employed. B, it helps our students give back to the community which we reside in. There is a student, at least in 2019, there was a student from every single House district of the state that was a student here on campus. This would allow us to give back to the community at large. Rural Minnesota is way under national standards for mental health practitioners in the area. That really affects our farmers, that really affects our constituents who live and work in rural Minnesota, which allows us to be students here. So I think it's important that we give back to our community that way. And this would also allow more students to be seen here on campus. The clinic, although it would charge insurance, in theory, I don't know the full funding model, it would also allow students who don't have insurance or couldn't charge insurance to possibly be seen. If this funding is approved, we would be in talks with THAD about what it might look like to have maybe this partially funded by student fees. It would have to go to referendum, and we wouldn't be talking about this on budget night, so everyone calm down. But maybe we could reserve a day or two just for students. That way all the appointments aren't taken up. And anyone else who sees a therapist, I've seen a therapist for a really long time. It's often really hard to get appointments, especially when we're looking at on campus. So this would allow us to expand our capacity to see students, see community members, and offer a great educational opportunity. And as I mentioned earlier, I am hoping to vote on this today. That way, when I testify tomorrow, I can say we passed something in support. But I will now yield to my second, if that's okay with the speaker.
Absolutely it is.
I would just like to say this provides mental health service for both Mankato and community as well as our students as a referral resource for Counseling Center. And also I believe that the training clinic could provide us more actual reflection, mental health for our diverse students population.
Thank you. I see we have a question from Senator Mueller.
Not so much a question, but a statement. As someone who grew up and originates from rural Minnesota and grew up in a family of agricultural background in a rural community, I have personally seen firsthand the effect that mental health has on Minnesota, especially rural Minnesota, and the help that is needed. I have seen family and friends, community members, classmates, co-workers all be affected by mental health issues. And in this bill will help solve these problems. It is desperately needed. Mankato may seem urban from campus, but if you go 5 minutes away, you're in rural. You're seeing cornfields. So we are a rural community, we live in a rural society out here, and we need to support our rural roots. And with that, I make a motion to call the question.
We cannot call the question. We first need a motion to expedite.
I make a motion to expedite.
There's a motion to expedite. Second, is there any dissent on a motion to expedite? All right, seeing no dissent, now we are planning on voting on it today, so it would now be possible to call it to question. Yeah, let me clarify the process. Okay, so normally the process is that when a bill is brought forward, the very first time that we have the bill, it's just for questions, and we've been allowing for some discussion, and that doesn't get voted on in that meeting. It lets people have a week to go home, to go do any independent research that they want to do on that bill, or to allow the author to rework any of the wording necessary or accept friendly amendments and stuff. But if you expedite it, it means that you are voting on it the very first week that it is introduced. So we are introducing this week. It is the first time that we're seeing this. We just accepted a motion to expedite it, which means that we will also be voting on it this week, rather than the typical 2-week process where we would be voting on it next week, and we expedited on account of Emma has to go testify about this very soon. So, hope that clears up the process a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and go to Senator Roberts.
Yeah, I think this is a really important resolution. Emma's already said a lot in terms of the mental health, but particularly for graduate students who have been asking for more and more opportunities of professional development. Well, this is front row and center a great opportunity for professional development that isn't usually offered at other universities. So that will be a unique opportunity for graduate students, and as Emma said, a great way to bring in some new students who want actual in-the-field experience as a result of the programs here.
Thank you very much, Senator Wing.
I just want to emphasize the impact that this can have directly on our constituents. I'm from rural southern Minnesota. A large percentage of my graduating class attends this university. And that is the same for the majority of southern Minnesota. This is the go-to university for those students. So I think that this is a great resource to help them and their families moving forward. I just want to emphasize that this isn't just about the impact it has on our students directly, but also on their families.
Thank you, Senator Zigwe.
Yeah, so I just kind of want to +1 to what they all said, and with that, I'd like to call it the question.
Oh yes, call to question. Do we have a second on that? Second. Do we have any dissent on call to question? Oh, let me clarify. Sorry, we're going through some parliamentary information, but for any of the new friends that have been added in the last couple weeks who want just a rundown on Robert's Rules, feel free to stop by my office, or I'll also probably email you guys just a quick guide on things. Calling to question is basically just government lingo for let's vote on this. It's basically saying, let's stop the discussion and vote. So, we've had a motion and a second to call to question. Do we have any dissent on calling to question? Dissent means you don't want to do that. You want to keep discussion open. Any dissent? All right, seeing no dissent, we're going to go ahead and call the question, bring it to a vote. I think this is a bill that we can vote on via raise of placards, hands, or on Zoom with the green check mark. So please lower those. I haven't called for them yet. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna ask for all those in favor, and then raise your placard if you're in favor. Then I'm gonna ask for all those opposed, and then I'm gonna ask for any abstentions. Abstentions are used if you feel that you don't have enough information currently to make a proper decision, or if you feel that you have a conflict of interest and should not be voting on this. Abstentions do not count in favor of or against the resolution. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm first going to call for all of those in favor, and if you are on Zoom, also indicate with a raise of hand or a check mark. Thank you very much. Hands down. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, this bill passes unanimously. Do a nice light one for All right, congratulations. Then that concludes our new business. And sorry, I'm just writing down the vote tally. And we're going to go ahead and we don't have any old business, so we're going to move on to announcements. Does anyone have any announcements they would like to make? Senator Roberts.
Once again, another reminder that next week, February 17th and 18th, we're hosting the state tournament here for forensics, and you're all invited. Also, if anyone else that you know might be interested, in addition to that, speech and debate also is open to any student on this campus in terms of learning some of this valuable skills in public speaking. So we also meet on Mondays at 4 p.m. in Armstrong 311. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? President Zelmer.
So just one thing, if you have any ideas for system level stuff, system level meaning any that oversees the 37 colleges and universities in the state that you want me to bring to the board, I need to know that by next week so I can send it into the state chair for the agenda. Beyond that, I had something else I was going to say.
Pedal.
Oh yes, Pedal Past Poverty. That is that in 2 weekends? I'll let you talk about that. Anyway, so I yield. I've lost my train of thought.
All right, John Boltbach. Concussion.
Thank you, Speaker Novak. Just a couple of things to finish up with Pedal Past Poverty. That benefits a group in town called Partners for Affordable Housing. And that is on Saturday, the 25th of February. And there was a sign-up sheet for that that's gone around before. And so for the new senators, I'm not sure if there was still openings on the sheet. But basically what happens is anybody who goes to this that morning will ride a stationary bike for 20 minutes. And the entry fee has already been submitted. I do know that the team needs to be registered, however. So once we have the team, it needs to be registered because everybody gets a T-shirt and all that kind of fun stuff. So somebody will need to take the lead on registering that. But I'm going to ride if there are any openings too. So if I'm needed, I will. But that's always a great event. Just as a reminder about the trivia thing, dinner's provided, food's usually pretty good, so please be there. I know next week President Zelmer will be confirming that we do not need the video production crew, so they might hopefully be able to even join us. So the staff compete with the staff and the students compete with the students. So that would be kind of fun, wouldn't it? So. Want to encourage, so for the following senators, if you can see Mr. David Cowan after the meeting so he can take your photo to be included on the roster. So of course, Senators Goma and Tepp, but then also we don't have a photo for Senator Roiger, Senator Amal, and that's it right now. So if you can see Mr. Cowan for a quick photo shoot. Also, I mentioned that by tomorrow morning, Amber would have you added to the Teams thing. I was able to just do that really quickly, so you all have been added to the teams that I referenced in the presentation. So if you go to Microsoft Teams, there's a group called Student Government, and then there's the Senate channel within the Student Government group. You all have been added to that, so you have access to several other things in addition to the budget documents. I'm going to encourage Speaker Novak to upload all of the agendas there and to actually quit loading up your email inbox every day or every week so that they can just put the agenda in that folder for you to access there on your own as well. So But you have been added to that. If you can't access it, please let me know. Otherwise, you should be able to easily get there.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Senator Ziegler.
College is expensive, everybody, so once again, I'm just going to provide a reminder to make sure to apply for scholarships if you're coming back next year. This is scholarship month, so make sure to do that. And that's it.
Amazing. Do we have any other announcements for the good of the group?
Leadership Award nominations, last deadline is March 13th. Anyone can nominate students, so if you have someone that there's multiple categories, so just look through them, and if you know someone that fits a category, nominate them.
Thank you very much. Do we see one from you, Robert?
Yeah. Just one more call. Love to have people for student basic needs. Send me an email. You can write it down, at douglas.roberts@mnsu.edu to let me know that you're planning to, so you can send me the schedule so I can arrange all of that. But then also reach out to the amazing president that is sitting next to me, Emma Zelmer, for the official appointment to the committee.
True. All right. Any final announcements for the good of the group? Beautiful. Then I'm going to go ahead and move on to our closing roll call. All right. Senator Hart.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Shroff.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Waldekainen.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Wing.
Howdy.
Thank you. Senator Demenji.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Wynn.
Yeah.
Thank you. Senator Bryant.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Roberts.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Barra.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Goma.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Narala.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Berhanu. Senator Berhanu. All right. Senator Pickle.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Mendez Martinez.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Bone.
On Zoom.
On Zoom. All right. Thank you. Senator Ziegler. Here. Thank you. Senator Mesta.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Mueller. Here. Thank you. Senator Parikh.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Tummy. Senator Tummy. No. Senator Blanchard. Also over here? Yep. All right. Thank you. Senator Goff.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Speltz.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Roiger.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Antry.
Here.
Thank you. Speaker Novak, that's me. President Zelmer.
Here.
Thank you. Vice President Ibrahim.
Here.
Thank you. Then in that case, I call this meeting adjourned at 5:32. Thank you very much. Did it. Oh my gosh. We had a lot of shit to get through and we did it fast.
Yeah, I like how it's